Picture Connie, because the words are definitely hers, okay? Going into this trip, my desire was to, one, have no expectations, be prepared for anything, be a support for whoever and whenever needed, actively sit back and watch God work. That got me cacti through the bottom of my shoe and into the foot, a fire ant bite, washing copious amounts of foam paintbrushes, mopping cabin floors, sand blasted by the wind and real desert sand, an incredibly huge appreciation for the other 14 people on the trip, and an amazing look at what God is up to in the lives of the young people and young adults on this trip. I'd go back in a heartbeat and I'd do it all over again, even the cacti and the fire ants. I'm so thankful that I don't have to do this presentation in person because I have tears just reflecting on all the blessings revealed over those 10 days. The campers were wonderful. I love the desert, plant, and animal life and the Navajo Hopi people we encountered. But the biggest takeaway from this trip came home with me in the van, all 14 of them. Let me try to explain. Day one of camp, my first impressions of camp is when a van pulls up from Winslow, Arizona, and campers start spilling out with the names of their counselors shrieking from their lips. The first thing I heard was, Katie, Katie, where's Katie? Followed by screaming for Anna and Rachel, and then you couldn't even understand the rest of the bedlam of words, but by witnessing the mobbing of counselors and campers greeting one another. The week that followed was just filled by our team living life with these little souls, praying, eating, laughing, crying, running from, running to, singing, sleeping, snoring, sleep-talking, encouraging, challenging, embracing, loving, teaching, creating a bond that God is using to sear in little and big hearts and minds the love of Jesus through people. Now I'm going to focus on our guys for a minute. Sorry guys, kind of. That's what kind of. It was just an incredible blessing to see our guys from the youngest going into 9th grade to the oldest in their 20-somethings man up spiritually. Simply meaning they were willing to meet the campers where they were, engage with them on a social and spiritual level, and that held them to a higher standard while showing compassion and gentleness in a manly way. If that doesn't encourage us as a church body and get you just a little excited about our future as a church, I really don't know what will. What a blessing to see Christ-like leadership coming out of these families. Personally, I was not there as a counselor, but God allowed me a unique opportunity. There were 4 foster children there, one of them being too old to be a camper, but needing to be with the foster mom legally, so it was at camp. God amazed me once again by allowing me some in-depth talk with the oldest, a young lady. God used my schooling and work in the juvenile courts to have some very frank but caring discussion about her life and where she was headed with it. To be able to apply both legal and spiritual advice in the same conversation is such a joy and a gift. To remind someone that if they have Christ in their life, there is no higher power. Wow. Because the reminder is applied to me as well. To tread very carefully after several different hours of conversations about traditional religion and remind her that if the power her grandfather has as a Navajo seer is not of God, it is of Satan. And that the power she has in her through Christ is greater. Quite frankly, I wouldn't have been surprised if I heard a war cry after that discussion, but it was of God. To be in the last evening service where Satan was using physical things, restlessness, power supply to the projector, large flying bug, etc., to cause distraction, it was so very humbling to pray and ask the Holy Spirit to fill the place with His presence and drive out the opposition. He did. And you just sit there in awe and utter fear, reverence, and worship of the power you witnessed in warfare. And you get mentally on your knees and thank Him that you've been called by Him, and He still chooses to use you even though you have nothing to offer in your power. So you go to New Mexico on a mission trip to minister to people, and God uses it to bless you in such a degree that you feel like your own heart was God's target for the entire trip. Thank you for allowing us the privilege of going and serving. The van and the trailer were awesome to drive, especially through the Rockies. Kind of had way too much fun with that. And I want to leave you with one last impression. Friday morning, a 12-year-old Navajo boy was sitting on a swing, drawing in the sand with his toe. I walked by him on the way to the Gaga ball pit, and he doesn't look up, but just says in an offhanded manner, "You guys coming back next year?" I paused physically and mentally because this is one particular young man who tried to affect a who cares attitude, and his body language is not giving me much to go on. And I say, well, I really don't know. I took another step and with the intent of going on my way, but something stopped me, and I look back at him. He hasn't changed his posture, and I say, well, do you want us to? He looks up at me, locks his gaze on mine, and says, yeah, I do. My response is then, you know what? Then so do I. He gives me a quick, pleased smile, focuses again on the shoe in his dirt, and I hope we do go back.
Amen.
Yes. So stand with us, we're going to sing again.